Blog Talk Radio.
I remember when I lost my mind. There was something so pleasant about that place. Even your emotions have an echo in so much space. And when you're out there without care, yeah, I was out of touch. But it wasn't because I didn't know enough. I just knew too much.
Because we do. It's off the chain. It's what we do. But that being said, before we get to our guest, who I absolutely adore, who is absolutely hysterical, I want to welcome each and every one of you to the show tonight and let you know that we will go back to our regularly scheduled program on Saturday night at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. Tonight was just a special night because my guest is a special person. But I want to say that I want to thank each and every one of you because we are starting off our new year here on this show on Off the Change. We're heading into our third year. And as I tell you every night at the beginning of the show, it's not my show, it's your show. It's you, the guest, it's you, the listener, it's the sponsors for the show. It's all of you that have come collectively together to create this beautiful, funny, insane, off-the-chain show. There's two ways, ladies and gentlemen, you can get on the show. One, you can come on as a guest, or two, you can become a sponsor, or if you really get adventuresome, you can do both. You can be a guest and a sponsor. Contact me at offthechainradio@yahoo.com, and I will tell you how to do both, or you can contact me on my Facebook page, either by messenger or send a post or carrier pigeon. I don't care. Just contact me, and I'll tell you how to do all this. Because we are now heard in over 200 countries with all the podcasts we have after the show goes into archives, and we're at a 250,000 listening base. We're heard on iTunes and YouTube, FM.com, TuneIn Radio, iHeartRadio on 2 podcasts there. We are heard on Podcast Garden. We're heard on podcast.com. We're heard on Reverb Nation. And we're also heard on some third-party podcasts that someone else uploaded this show to, which makes me very happy. So there you have it. Now, before we get started with our wonderful, wonderful guest who's hysterically funny, I want to welcome a new sponsor to the show. These guys run the show back before Christmas. They are four guys from the mountains, and when I say mountains, I mean mountains of Pennsylvania. They are way up back in the mountains. George, Sandy, Dave, and Ed, they are called Dirt Road Sunset. They have songs available to purchase on iTunes, Reverb Nation, Amazon, CD Baby, and all proceeds from these sales go to support breast cancer, Children's Hospital, Disabled American Veterans, and CERT, training of canine search and rescue and service dogs. Ladies and gentlemen, these men they've been friends for over 40 years, and they are absolutely wonderful, wonderful musicians. So support them, Dirt Road Sunset. Now, most of you all know that last night, because today is Thursday, author J. Traveler Pelton was on the show, and we talked about her books, and boy, has she been busy. At the end of December, she released The Importance of Family, and it is back with all the political intrigue, hard science fiction, and adventure that Travelers fans have come to expect from her tales. In Book 8 of the Generations of the Oberlin Family Chronicles, Noah, Violet, Kai, Zanya, Jasmine, Scott, Gabriel, Katrana, and their families chase through the world, pitting their families' resources, intellect, and espionage network against the Brotherhood, erecting protective domes all over their safe houses and laboratories as they are labeled traitors, and the military is sent to take them into custody. As the planet's plant life dies from the sickened water, the mutations spread throughout the animal kingdom. The Oberlins are made the scapegoats for all the world's problems. When Micah and Alexander are kidnapped, Noel has to call in help from all the worldwide family to bring them home. As the family worldwide retreat to the domes, they wonder if they will hold through military bombardment. Will the Earth survive, or has the destruction of the environment and the population plummet gone too far to recover? Will only the people of the domes make it to the next millennium? Good question. This book and all of her books, Traveler's books, are available on Amazon. Just type in J. Traveler Pelton and you will be taken to her page. Have a look, download some for yourself to enjoy on all those cold, dark, and long winter afternoons when you just want to stay in. Don't forget to leave her reviews. We as indie authors love reviews, good, better, and different. You can also visit Traveler on her webpage, travelerpelton.com. Diane Mote has been with me for a very, very long time. I absolutely adore her. She has a series of books called the Sam Holden series. The third in the book in the series is now out, and it is called Dog Bones. And it goes like this. Sam's quest to avenge abused animals is threatened when the FBI comes after her on one side and the commissioner wants her dead on the other. Will her double life be exposed? Will she be able to protect the animals, her friends, and herself? Check out Dog Bones by Diane Mote everywhere ebooks are sold. And if you haven't yet started the series, ladies and gentlemen, be sure to check with Doggone by Diane Mote on Amazon. Now to my guest tonight. She has been on my show before. She is one funny, funny, funny woman. I could just sit. Why she doesn't have her own TV show is beyond me. She's also an author. Her name is Amy Lyle, and she is an author, comedian, actor, and screenwriter, and she grew up in Marion, Ohio, which is in the heart of Appalachia, known for a population that is partial to moonshine and prone to acts of violence. Remember the Hatfields and McCoys. Obsessed with comedians and comedic writers such as Jenny Lawson, Timmy Faye, Carrie Fisher, Kristen Wiig, Amy Poehler, Joan Rivers, Ellen DeGeneres, Chelsea Handler, Wendy Williams, Mitch Hedberg, Wanda Sykes, Chris Rock, Kevin Hart, Will Ferrell, Carol Burnett, Lucille Ball, and Roseanne Barr, who is my absolute favorite. She developed a winning style that is self-depreciating, hilarious, and slightly neurotic. Amy has self-diagnosed herself with many conditions, including OCD. No, not the OCD you think. Uncontrollable, reoccurring thoughts facilitating from cleaning to running away. Misphonia, having intense, angry reactions to lip smacking, Tourette's syndrome, yelling out random words, sedate phobia, find silence vexing and scary, apraxia, difficulty pronouncing words, and IBS, irritable bowel syndrome. She's taken many, many, many natural herbal supplements. Amy and her second husband, Peter, are having many issues raising their 4 teenagers and our large dog together in the suburbs of North Atlanta. Amy, my darling, welcome. Thank you for coming on to the show.
Thank you for having me on the show a half an hour late since I lost the phone number.
Oh, stop.
I am so sorry. I'm so embarrassed.
Why?
I'm like, I do have 2 books about failures, so I know you weren't surprised. You were so cool.
Well,
you're like, that's okay.
And I look at it this way. If we can't laugh at ourselves, number one, we will never be amused, and number two, other people will laugh at us, so why don't we just steal their thunder and do it for them?
Well, you are very gracious. Thank you for having me again. So fun.
We do have fun on this show. Ladies and gentlemen, I called her because she kindly sent me her phone number, and the show that was supposed to play at 9 o'clock, it died when nobody called in. So I said, well, I'll tell you what we'll do. We'll just reschedule it for 9:30. It's no big deal. So the description that you see will be changed because I had to throw something up there to get the show up and running, and I'll have updated pictures, and I'll make it all pretty again before we send it out into the netherworld. But this is what she sent me in her email. She said, when the first book, The Book of Failures, was released, I would post a Friday fail once a week. People would share the post, and all of a sudden I had hundreds of hilarious stories from other people. I would ask all of my family and friends, even complete strangers in the grocery store, I'm writing a book on funny failures. Do you have any stories you can share with me? I ended up with 60,000 words, which we edited down to around 40,000, which is 240 pages, which to me is a short book. A live alpaca was at the cover photo shoot and is featured on the cover as the mascot to the book. His name is Santiago. I recently was in a movie short, The Interviewers, that won Best Comedy at the Franklin International Film Festival, and her own screenplay is being made this fall. It's called Fake Mom and will be shot in Atlanta and New York City. My goodness, child. Oh, the new book hit number 1 in 2 categories when it was released. And We're All a Mess, It's Okay, a collection of funny essays and one-liners about the struggles of everyday life. Let's just start off right there. You ask complete stranger. Okay. Now, people, you have to understand Amy. Amy does not have a shy bone in her body. So
that's true. I don't really have a shy bone.
Let's just go. You in the grocery store, you ask complete strangers about embarrassing
I would ask
moments.
anyone. I would ask the mailman. I would ask anyone, do you have a funny failure that you can share with me? And sometimes they would share them, and, sometimes they wouldn't. But luckily, enough people shared that, I could make, We're All a Mess, It's Okay. And they're so funny, and I put them in categories. So it's kind of like dating disasters, vacations that went wrong, my family's crazy, crazy coworkers. I just collected them and then, made chapters out of each category.
That is too funny. Only you could get away with that.
It's so funny, and I think, it's been really well received, and I think people, the world is so, like, false perfect, everything is so filtered, and everybody kind of, shows on social media themselves on their best day, and it's like, I think that makes people depressed, to be honest with you. If they go on social media and it's like, here's my new car, here's our vacation home, like I'm happy for people, but like if you're just bombarded with that and that's not going on in your life, it can make you kind of sad. And so, my books, the idea is like, oh my gosh, she understands me, or I've had that issue too, or I've gone on the, internet date from hell, or I was almost murdered on a vacation, but I survived. It makes people, it lifts them up. It makes them remember that we all make mistakes. And if you can live to tell the tale, then, it's so funny. Not everything's funny, but with a lot of time, most things are funny.
Well, that and the fact that people say, life is hard, life is bad. Life is neither good nor bad. Life is life. It's how we approach it and how we deal with the things that happen in our life. Now, see, if I had known this, I could have given you a really funny story. You've been following me, you know that I lost my husband, and that for months I was literally here at the house with him because I couldn't leave him.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the first,
yes.
He was a JCI senator, so he made me promise I would stay active in the Senate. So the first meeting I went to after he died, we were getting ready to leave, and the gentleman that had taken care of his body and taken care of the service for me is also a senator. Well, Jack had been cremated, so he brought me his ashes, and I had him in the room, and I was getting everything on a rolling cart to take out to the car, and this friend of mine was helping me, and so I handed her this box. I didn't tell her what it was. I handed her this box. She says, "What's this?" I said, "This is Jack." She says, "Oh, we have to put him here so he doesn't fall off because he'll be mad at us." She said, "We can't lose Jack." Sometimes
things in death, even that, you found humor in that instead of being so serious. I know
honey,
that
we
not
laughed.
everything can be funny.
We laughed until I thought we both were going to wet our pants.
Yes, because you needed that release. And Jack was probably laughing too. He probably got a kick out of that.
He definitely would be laughing because he'd say, "You know what? You two embarrassed me to tears."
Yes. I know. It's so funny because my first content editor for this book, she took like the big red marker over the whole book, and she's like, why would anyone think that's funny? It could be like a dating disaster, or, this one woman had a long-term relationship with an inmate, like literally a felon that she had met at inmates.com. And, he had not swindled her or anything. He really only asked for like books and socks, and it was like the perfect relationship. She knew where it was going, right? He was never getting out of jail. And, he told her he had like some banking issues, where his banking issue was, he's robbing the banks. But anyway, she's like, that's not funny. That's terrible. I'm like, no, it's not. No, it's not terrible. Like, she's getting out of this relationship what she wants, and he, has a pen pal. Nobody's been hurt or anything. And there were so many things like that. Like, there was a story in there where a dog it was a fancy dinner party, and they had the dog, in the bedroom or whatever. And the guy's like, oh, you have a dog, bring out your dog. And this guy's trying to get promoted, and it's like his boss and the president of the company. And they bring out the dog, and the dog's fine. And then a little bit later, the president's like, oh, there's something kind of hanging out of the dog. And the wife like grabbed a napkin, and she started pulling. Here he'd eaten pantyhose. The dog had eaten pantyhose. And she's pulling and pulling and pulling and pulling. And that's disgusting. It's gross. And everybody's quiet. And she's like, dessert? Everyone's like, no. And, and the guy ended up getting promoted, and the dog was fine. And she was so like, that could have killed the dog. And I'm like, but it didn't kill the dog. And she's like, you can never pull something out of an animal. I'm like, well, I didn't know that. So I put a disclaimer. I was like, I told the story in the book, and then I was like, disclaimer, never pull anything out of your dog or cat's bottom or any animal. Take it to the vet. I'm like, now we're educating people. But for some reason, I must have caught her in like a bad time of her life, because she just, I don't know, she just wasn't on board. And I just disagree with her. I think given enough time, most things can be funny given enough time.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Number one, we as human beings take life too seriously anyway.
Yes.
And we take the things that happen in our life, even in death, things can be funny.
Yes, they can be. I mean, you hate to say that, but even at a funeral, it can be funny sometimes. You're like, why is he wearing that tie? That has fish on
exact
it.
service.
Like,
that's all we did was laugh, because he would have looked at every one of us and said, you know what? I really don't like you people anyway.
why are you even here?
Right. What are you doing here? But
yeah, I think our world would be a happier place if people had the same view that you have, that you can find humor and, try to look for it. Look for the funny.
Well, life's too short as it is. And like I said earlier, if we can't laugh at ourselves, other people will, simply because that's the nature of human beings. They laugh at others to keep from seeing their own failures. So when we take away... I have actually used that as an ad on Amazon. I'm like, if you can't laugh at yourself, you can laugh at others. Other people's failures are funny. If you can't laugh at yourself, start here. But you're guaranteed you're probably going to see some of yourselves in my book. You're probably going to be like, I've done that. Oh, that's happened to me. Exactly. Yeah. And then maybe they could lighten up. Maybe. I don't know. I always say people's shorts are too tight or their knickers are in a twist when they can't laugh. Just get your knickers out of a twist and laugh. Get over yourself. You're not that important. Yeah, exactly. Now, let's talk about this alpaca. Before the show, you gave me the cliff notes, but now let's talk about why he wound up on your book. Okay, so the book cover, the front and the back, there's an alpaca. It is not photoshopped. It is a real alpaca that was in the studio with us. And what had happened is I'd had the studio booked, the studio time, and my photographer booked for months, and to do the cover of the book. And I just wanted like something funny, but I couldn't put my finger on it, like what I wanted the theme to be, or I don't know, it just didn't come to me. And a couple days, like Wednesday, I was on social media and I saw a video of a therapy llama. And these people take these therapy llamas just like a therapy dog. Like they'll take them to hospitals or senior citizen centers or wherever to cheer people up. They'll take these therapy llamas. And they dressed them up. It was hilarious. They dressed them up like if it was a holiday, they might be, an Easter bunny or a pilgrim, whatever. And I thought that was so funny. And somebody commented on social media. They're like, Amy, you should get a llama for your photo shoot. And I was like, yes, I should. And so I started calling around. And that in itself was like, I wish I had my own reality show because it was so funny because people that own llama farms, it seemed to be an interesting breed of people on their own. Like that takes an interesting person. But anyway, there was some misunderstanding. Like, well, sure, yeah, you can use a llama. And then they thought I was going to drive to them, And I was like, no, that's not funny. I want the llama in the studio. And so some of them were like, well, these ain't no traveling llamas. I ain't got no trailer, whatever. And so I was like, Dad, I'm not going to get a llama. And then I was like, I'll take anything. I'll take an ostrich or like baby goats. Like I just want something running around funny. So literally the night before, Thursday, the night before the photo shoot was at 10 o'clock in the morning, Friday. This is Thursday. Friday was the photo shoot. Animal Casting Atlanta called me and they said, we are headed to South Georgia for an Avengers movie. From North Georgia, we go right by your studio. Well, it's not my studio, the studio, and we'll come in for 15 minutes. And I was like, yes. So they came in, they had a wrangler, like a, alpaca wrangler. She was lovely. And it was very expensive. Like alpacas get like Stormy Daniel rates. Like they're really pricey. But anyway, they ended up staying for like an hour and we got all these funny shots and videos with the alpaca. Then we decided to take a real shot of that particular alpaca, and we bought this app that makes its mouth move. So it looks like the alpaca is talking, and so that's what we're using on social media to promote the book as a mascot for We're All a Mess Okay. And he says all this funny stuff, like at Christmas he was like, and he sounds South American, he's like, Merry Christmas, wait, you're Jewish? Oh, that's okay, Happy Hanukkah to you. And then he's like, buy me the book. Like, it's so funny. And then we're trying to get on Ellen to promote the book. And so we have the alpaca. He's like, Ellen. You've got to put that up on my page. You have to.
I'll pick one and put it up there. And he does. Remember on social media when there was that funny video with the little boy, and he was talking to his mother, and her name was Linda, and he's like, "Listen, Linda."
Yeah.
So the alpaca does that. He's like, "Linda, listen, Linda, buy this book. It's so funny." And anyway, it's been so fun. And you're an author. I'm an author. You interview a lot of authors. You cannot put on social media, buy my book, buy my book, buy my book. People will not follow you. So you got to be careful of a balance of how you do that. And so I thought this was a fun way to introduce a lot of the stories. He talks about the stories, which is, really funny. And then he also sings songs, he does all kinds of, he does whatever he wanted to do. He's a voiceover artist in Atlanta. So it's been so fun. And then the chapters, I know, and there's a picture of him, all the chapters have a picture of him, and then there's like a bubble, like a quote bubble, and it has like a funny, quote in it, and that, it's like travel failures, and it has a funny quote. And so anyway, it's been really fun, and it was a combination of like my daughter's Spanish teacher is married to a voiceover guy, Chris Corzo, he's from Atlanta, and my neighbor is a PR person, and it was just like the idea came together. It was, anyway, it's been so fun. But that's why there's an alpaca on the cover.
Well, I can't wait to see him in his element going, Linda. Listen.
Okay, I'll load that one tomorrow and I'll tag you.
That's going to be hysterical. Let's take a quick break, because when we come back, we're going to talk about the screenplay and how this all – you're just exploding, my friend. You're just exploding. Ladies and gentlemen, yes, this is a special edition of Off the Chain. I'm your host, Yvonne Mason, with the lovely, lovely, lovely author, comedian, screenplay writer, businesswoman extraordinary, Amy Lyle, and we will be right back.
Best-selling and award-winning author of true crime and crime fiction, Yvonne Mason is back with a brand new book, The Pink Canary, a book that delves into the life of a drag queen and a marvelous whodunit. You can find this and all of Yvonne's other works on Amazon.com, or find Yvonne Mason on Facebook and Twitter.
You're gonna kill me.
Buy your copy of Pink Canary now.
You have cougars on your porch swing? Are horses your new best friend? Do your nicest shoes get buried knee-deep in snow as your toes turn blue? Are you bothered by wolves at your woodpile? No, not that kind of wolf. Join wildlife artist and author Nancy Quinn and her family as they discover an exciting new life in Go West, Young Woman, a true Montana adventure. Available online and in bookstores. Or visit QuinnWildlifeArt.com for a personalized signed copy. Critics agree, it's a hoot.
Germany, 1938. Charlotte, a young girl of 15, wanders into Georg's cobbler's shop to have her shoes repaired. Georg, enamored by Charlotte's charm and grace, decides then and there that he's going to marry her. But they must keep their love a secret from family, friends, and, most importantly, the Nazis. Follow along as Georg's pursuit of the young Charlotte results in the couple traveling a heart-stopping, winding route to stay one step ahead of the Gestapo in their escape from Nazi Germany, with a surprising twist along the way. If you like history and romance, don't miss Good Things Always Happen in Springtime by Joanne Fisher. Available at www.joannesbooks.com.
Juliana is a middle-aged housewife in Toronto with a career, a husband that has little interest in her well-being, and 3 children. In the evenings, she gets on her computer and chats with people around the world. When she gets involved with Aaron and Bobby, her life becomes a pinball, bouncing around her husband, her job, her children, and her 2 online friends. She's bewitched by the romantic poetry of Aaron, but the honesty and kindness of Bobby bring her all the way to California. Watch for the ironic twist of fate that takes her in a direction she never expected. If you like spicy romances, don't miss With All of Me by Joanne Fisher, available at www.joannesbooks.com.
Fiore is a young Italian woman engaged to be married, but her plans are interrupted by a charismatic Sebastian, a handsome middle-aged Spanish businessman. Her beauty strikes him like a thunderbolt sent by the goddess Venus herself. When she's given a peculiar gift, a Spanish doll, she's thrown into a whirlwind of entangled passion, money, secrets, and love.
Their romance sparks in a charming little Italian town located on the southern part of Lake Garda in northern Italy and takes them around the globe.
What happens when her life is suddenly shattered by a lifelong secret? Her Spanish doll will bring you to a caliente Spain
and a romantic Italy,
adding some spice along the way. Available at www.joannesbooks.com.
And we are back. This is Off the Chain. I'm your host, Yvonne Mason, with my guest, author, comedian, and screenplay writer extraordinaire, Amy Lyle. Okay, let's talk about your screenplay.
All right, the screenplay, for those people that are creative out there and trying to get a movie made, has been in the works for 7 years. So 7 years I wrote it, and I wrote it under the mentorship of this guy named Rodney Henson, and he vetted films for Disney back, for like a decade, and then he was an executive for like Salesforce.com or something. Anyway, so I would send him the film, he would send me notes, I would update the film, and then he would, be traveling and not get back to me for 6 months. Like he had a real job. So it took a long time to get, edited or whatever. And then you have to match up, like if you want a producer, you have to get on their schedule because the producer that I wanted had projects lined up for months and months and months, actually, well over a year. And so finally got on her calendar. And to get to that point, to get like an entertainment attorney back 7 years ago, they said, I won't represent you. You're no one. You don't have any money. You can't just waltz into Hollywood. You have to write a book. And so that's how I ended up writing a book, because he's like, you need to write a book. And when they search Amy Lyle, your name better come up. You need to get a lot of press. And so I took that very seriously, and I wrote the Book of Failures, and then, within, about a year, 18 months after I released We're All in This Okay, but kind of in the middle of that same attorney took me on as a client.
Wow.
And so things got rolling from there. Yeah, so it was kind of exciting. And then Suzanne Jurva is the producer. She used to work for DreamWorks for a decade under Steven Spielberg, and, loved it. But, you and I were talking about this earlier, the restraints of a giant studio, are that. There's some great perks, but there's also some restraints. And so for the, past decade, she's now been an independent film and, able to kind of work on what she wants to work on. And so she's finishing up some projects, and my script, the final tweaks have to be done at the end of the month. And then they shop for talent. Then they take it to the investors, and then it shoots fall 2019.
So you, as an independent, and you and I talked about this with so many wonderful independent authors out there, and independent books out there, and independent screenwriters and independent directors. The sky is the limit. And as with our books, as independent authors and musicians, we control everything. So as an independent screenwriter, director, producer, y'all will control things. You don't have to farm it out to people that don't have the same vision as y'all do.
Yes, and even as an independent writer, working on an independent film, I was still assigned a writing, someone who kind of helped me with the script and kind of checked off things. And it's so funny because you are so passionate about your work. At one point, I told Stephen Beeler, he's an Atlanta filmmaker, that I would stab his eyes out with a fork at lunch, which isn't very ladylike. But, you're so passionate when someone tries to change your film. My film is called #FakeMom, and it's not a romantic comedy. There's some romance, but it's kind of like Bridesmaids meets Bad Moms. And so the relationship that I want to grow in the film are between two different types of women, stay-at-home moms and working moms. It's not a traditional romantic comedy. And I felt like he kept trying to turn it into that. And that's when I said I was going to stab him. But then, we were able to laugh about that and move on. And now he gets it. He's like, oh, now I get it. And so, but if I was in a room with a big studio, I wouldn't have been able to do that. They would have just
done
gone,
what they were going to do.
They could have put dinosaurs in my movie. Like, you don't know what they're going to do. So, but, a lot of people get discovered by doing independent films, and they go on to do giant films, which is fabulous. But to your point, this film is my baby, and I am very protective over how I want it to be portrayed, because I want it to be a certain way. I just see it. I just see it in my mind. And so I've had to learn to take criticism and take the feedback, write it down, sleep on it, and then look at it again. And then normally we meet someplace in the middle. Then I can come back and say, well, I think it's this or this. And so we have a great working relationship now. But to your point, at first I was like, what? And
you want to do what with my screenplay?
Yeah, what? And then a major thing that they wanted me to change, I fought tooth and nail, and finally I was like, oh my gosh, I'm not going to win this. So I changed it, and then lo and behold, 6 months later, guess what? They want me to change it back. And I was remember when I told you that I shouldn't?
You know what? What happens? Sadly, what happens is the vision somewhere gets lost in the translation, or the screenwriters are so used to doing it the way they've been taught that they're afraid to think outside of the box.
Well, I don't know. There is a lot of structure in film, and I really do believe in that. I think it's like a novel. Certain things should happen in the first couple minutes. Certain things should have happened by the midpoint. Certain things, this is an American film. There's no crazy surprise ending. It's, a feel-good film. But outside of that, I think you're right as far as, like, my movie is not You've Got Mail. It's not. It's edgier than that. It's more of a Bridesmaids feel. It's a little dirtier. I mean, in a fun way, in a very fun women-type dirtiness way, funny way. And so anyway, but it's great. I think that it is a collaborative thing. And you know what? I'm so lucky. I only have to work with one person on this script versus I went in a studio. I'd be in a boardroom with 20 people probably.
Oh, good. Can you imagine dealing with 20 screenwriters?
Oh, my gosh. Can you imagine what
all of them with a different opinion, and all of them just know they're right.
Exactly. And you know what? I guess they're all right in their own way, but you have to protect your own work. But my film is a comedy, and so there's comedians in it. And so, that will take hold of itself, too. When you start doing, these comedians are geniuses, improv geniuses. And so I just want to give them on a silver platter a beautiful film that's very funny and structurally sound. And I think it'll just get funnier and funnier with the input of these very talented actors and actresses, which is fantastic. That's what you want to happen, is something, spontaneous and organic and fun. Some of the funniest things on film have happened, like when Harry met Sally.
Yeah.
Yes. When Billy Crystal spit those grapes onto the window, the seeds, that was improv. Or Sally, Meg Ryan in that movie when she's spraying the hairspray talking about, whatever, that was improv. And it made that scene by Nora Ephron, the writer, she's a genius, even better. And that's what I hope is going to happen with my film. And so I'm very flexible and know it's going to continue to grow and change. But, you don't want the premise of the film to change.
Well, I tell you what, I am just so proud of you. Remember, I think we had this conversation where I said that things would happen with you, and that you're not the first person I've told that to, because you have that passion, you have that drive, and in order to succeed in anything, Amy, you know this, and in order to succeed, one has to be driven to do it. And that's why many people give up. It's not that they fail. It's that they lose their drive. They lose their passion. They lose the humor in what they do.
You get to know a lot. You're a creative person too, and an author as well. So you get told know a lot. And some of it is I'm just naive. Like, I'm not in the film business. I'm a screenwriter, but I've been in a couple films as an actress and learned some things, but, I don't really know that much about filmmaking. And so some things I didn't know. And so I went and did it. And I've, secured 2 partnerships with giant, very well-known companies in Atlanta. And it say, hey, I have this scene that's so funny. And, the protagonist in my film is in the publishing business. So she's always trying to sell, advertising. And so I needed clients for her. So why not have a real client, instead of making up a client, let's have a real client, because the film, is predominantly in Atlanta. It opens in New York City, but it's predominantly in Atlanta. So why not we cast the best companies in Atlanta? And you know what? I begged and networked my way to the media people and pitched to them, and they said, okay. You know what I mean? I'm just this mom in my house and writing emails and saying, look at this scene. It's so funny. It will cast you in a favorable light, your company in a favorable light, Atlanta in a favorable light, in this very pro-female movie in a favorable light. Can we, shoot in your space and use your logo? And you know what? We'll probably get, on their social media. That's a fun project for them. So then we get these, who knows where that will end up. So I'm very excited about that. And some of that is just I didn't know any better. I just started picking up the phone and calling. And you know what? I got a lot of no's. But then I got some yeses.
You got a lot of yeses.
Then I got a lot of yeses, yeah. And the same for I just had this feeling Atlanta's the home of hip hop. When you think of Georgia, you also think of country music. And you're not going to believe this. My husband's boss, his name is Russ Still, and he is part of this great band called Russ Still and the Moonshiners. And they were Georgia Band of the Year, Georgia Album of the Year a couple years ago. And
wow.
And so I asked him, could he write some music for me? He said yes. Very exciting about that. He's a fantastic musician. He can do anything country. He can make it Bob Dylan. He can do really anything you want. But then I also wanted an element of hip hop, because Atlanta is a hip hop central. And a friend of mine, because I'm not tapped into the hip hop world. My kids like it, but I don't really know that much about it. And so my friend of mine is tapped into it, and I said, I want a brand new artist, just like people have given me a chance as a brand new screenwriter. I want a brand new person that's worked in the studio, but they haven't got picked up yet, and it's all original work, and I'm going to put them in my movie, and I'm going to give them credit. And he gave me the list of a couple people, and I made this contact with this phenomenal artist, and I told him what I wanted. This is the feeling of this scene. Like an opening scene over New York City, and then, the airplane then, later lands in Atlanta, and Atlanta is the king of hip hop. What should that sound be? And I gave him 4 scenes, and he sent me these 4 amazingly diverse songs. And it's just so exciting. And so he's excited about being featured in a film, and I'm excited to feature him, and who knows what will come out of that. But that's been a blessing of this project, that people that are older and wiser and more successful than I am have given me a chance and mentored me. And I feel I want to pay that back. I want to highlight, fantastic new talent in this movie. Some established talent, but also, some recognizable names, but also some new talent and a lot of Atlanta talent. So
and
anyway, I just think it's exciting.
You know what's amazing, Amy, is as artists that we are, if we never ask the question, we're never going to know the answer. And the fact that you asked the questions and didn't stop with no, just kept on till you got a yes, shows how tenacious and how passionate you are, and it's a lesson to all those out there, whether they want to be garbage collectors, rocket scientists, or independent artists. Don't ever take no for an answer.
Right, you just got to drum up a different, go a different way if you get told no. I get told no a lot. I mean, I'm still getting told no, but I'm happy, and some exciting things have come out of this, and I just want to earn the right to work on another movie. I just want to earn the right to work on a sitcom or something creative. I love writing dialogue, especially comedic dialogue, and be it a book or a film or whatever. And the guy that I did the Interviewers film with, Sam Juergens, I just happened to get to know him on the set of the Interviewers, and he's like, "Oh, you have a feature screenplay, may I read it?" And he read it, and he's like, "Oh my gosh, you're so funny. Would you want to work on a couple projects with me?" And I'm like, and that's what it's all about. That's all I want, is the opportunity to work, on stuff that I want to work on. So yeah, I just feel very blessed, and I don't make any money really.
Your time will come.
Exactly, hopefully.
It will.
I always tease my husband. I tease my husband. I'm like, "Honey, I wrote another book. I'm going to make another $8 or $9."
But
by
the
the
thing
time you
is,
pay for all the marketing, yeah.
But it will
It's
come.
expensive.
It's
and even if it doesn't come, I mean, it's like when you say it will come. What does that mean? Like, you and I have both published books. That in itself is an accomplishment. You created a podcast. I wrote a screenplay. Like, you have to give yourself a little bit of, like, 99% of people want to write something and they never make the time for it, or they're too shy, or they don't have confidence. So it's kind of like you pride and feel like, I did it. I put it out there and I did it, and that's kind of exciting.
And one of the things that I tell people when they say, "Yvonne, I want to write a book, but I don't know how," my first question to them is this. Well, I have two questions. The first question is, how bad do you want it? And they say, well, I want it really bad. So then my second question is, okay, let me ask you this. Do you expect to make $1 million? And they say, oh, but of course. I say, well, get another line of employment.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's not going to happen. Well,
Mm-mm.
and then they come back, well, Stephen King did, and James, and I said, look, Stephen King's first novel went in the trash. It was only because his wife pulled Carrie out of the trash and sent it off, and then it got rejected, that he's even where he is today. I know. I love those stories, like J.K. Rowling, getting no. And then even her first publishing deal took several years, almost a decade. Even her first publishing deal with Harry Potter, with a genius, she only got $100,000. She only got $100,000 from Harry Potter, and now she's a billionaire. But everybody starts somewhere, and people might be like, $100,000, that's a lot of money. But look what it's really worth. That was worth. Oh my gosh. And also think about this: how much did she spend prior to making that $100,000? Oh, and she was very poor. This is what people don't understand: is we market, we're on the road, trying to drum up business. We're on the telephone. We're on social media. We're on the internet. We buy our own marketing materials. We buy our own advertising. So, in the big picture, how much of that was actual profit based on all the expenditures she had prior to that? Plus, her time is worth something. Yeah. Oh yeah, and then obviously it paid off. It paid off later, but you're absolutely right. There's a lot that goes into it, and I think sometimes creative people, especially writers, they kind of
snub me a little bit because I write essays and, like a novelist, like a real novelist. Sometimes they feel like the work is so good it will sell itself, and that's really tough thinking because there's 7 million books on Amazon.
Exactly.
It's not going to sell itself. You're going to have to advertise. So it's but I'm sad because there's a lot of genius work out there, but somebody's just flat out not interested. They almost think it's beneath them. They don't like the marketing part of it. They hate it, but they don't realize that your day you're spending just as much time marketing as you were writing.
Actually, you're spending more. And what I also tell people that I interview is that we'll get to your product, but your product is not your brand. You are the brand. The people that listen to the show want to know about you. They'll go find your product, but they want to know about you.
Right, exactly. It's not a commercial.
Mm-mm.
Right. Yeah, you're right. And so people get confused on that. They just don't know. They just don't know. And but if they thought about it, if they thought about what they've purchased recently and how it was presented to them, they probably realize they fell in love with the story, not the buy me.
The prime example. When one hears the nationwide jingle, who do they think of?
Well, which jingle?
They think of Peyton Manning and Brad Paisley.
Which jingle?
The nationwide jingle. Nationwide is on your side?
Nationwide. Yes, you do. Those commercials are funny.
Mhm. They don't think of Nationwide Insurance. They think of Brad Paisley and Peyton Manning. Peyton Manning started it, and then they brought in Brad Paisley. And so that it's a marketing thing. And then Progressive
You can't
Insurance.
just have a commercial that says yes with the Geico guy. It's so funny.
Yeah,
the Gecko.
and the Progressive Insurance, they think of Flo. The Subaru commercials with the dogs.
Yes, you're absolutely right. Because a successful ad campaign is not buy. And telling them the product features and benefits. It's creating a feeling.
Right. An atmosphere, an ambiance, a hook, so to speak.
Yes, exactly.
That's the hardest thing to teach artists that don't have a marketing manager is how to market, because they don't understand that it's not the product, it's the person.
Yeah, you buy because you're moved by the story. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, I believe that. But I was in sales for 15 years, and I was a recruiter, and so you literally were selling people, right? That's what we're doing is we're marketing Java developers or a CPA or whatever, and you learn very quickly you weren't going to sell anything by saying our staffing company's been in business for 50 years. They don't care. They want to know, hey, I've got the CPA. He's worked at the Big Four. He just moved to Atlanta because his wife's a doctor. He's got phenomenal references. Like, they'll call you back on that because that's what they need. Versus
who was brilliant at doing that, and this is where I learned how to make this show successful. Johnny Carson.
Oh, Johnny Carson.
If
and he
you
was kind.
And if you watch some of his old shows, when he would bring out an unknown, whether it was an artist, whether it was a movie celebrity, whatever it was, when he would bring out an unknown, more times than not, his cue cards would be tossed over his shoulders because they literally just totally went off the script. And when that person came back on 6 months, a year down the road, they were so well known. They had been filmed. They had released new albums. They'd written more books, all because Johnny Carson talked with them, not at them, about them. Pulled out things
and
nobody else would ever pull out.
Interest in them. Yes, you're right. He saw what was shining in them. I just watched. It's so funny you said that because I watched 2 clips of Johnny Carson recently. One was Ellen DeGeneres, where he discovered her and he just loved her material and it was so fresh. And that conversation absolutely launched her career. And then I saw another show and it was Roger Ebert was on the show, and at the same time Chevy Chase. So they interviewed Chevy Chase. So, Chevy Chase is sitting in like the second chair, and then they interviewed Roger Ebert, and he was sitting in another chair. And he asked Roger Ebert what he thought about Chevy Chase's new movie, which I think was The Three Amigos. And Roger Ebert said he didn't like the movie, and he kind of went into it of why he didn't like it. And Johnny Carson stopped, and he said, I would have not asked that question if I knew you were going to answer that way. And he was so sincere of like, it was so inappropriate, even if you're a movie reviewer, to say something like that right in front of the actor that was promoting the film. Like 4 seconds ago, Chevy Chase was promoting a film, and now he's tearing the film down. And, he could have said something, well, you'll have to wait to see, what I'm going to say, or, gosh, if Chevy Chase is in a film, there's funny moments or whatever. He could have been more gracious. Because I thought it was so sweet of Johnny Carson to say that, and he meant it. He said, he said sincerely, if I knew you were going to say that about Chevy's film, I wouldn't have asked you that question. And Chevy Chase just took it in stride and rolled with it, but it was so awkward. But yeah, he was a genius at that, wasn't he?
He was a genius.
And I like the kind people.
Guess what? We're a genius at our show because we're almost at the end of our show.
Oh, my gosh, how can the time go so fast?
Because we're so good at what we do. Tell the folks, my darling friend, where you can be found, where your books can be found, so they can hook up with you. And will you come back?
Oh, my gosh, please let me come back. I'd love to come back if you'll let me when my film is releasing, because then I'll know more. I don't know that much about filmmaking, so I'll share with you the nitty-gritty, what happens in making of a film.
Well, stay in contact with me and let me know as the process goes, and when you want to come back, I'll get you back on, no problem. But tell the folks where you can be found now before we get cut off.
Okay, The Book of Failures and We're All a Mess Okay, available in some Barnes & Nobles, the paperback, Barnes & Noble stores, also on Amazon in a paperback, audiobook, and ebook. And my website is www.amylyle.me, amylyle.com mistaken. And my Facebook page is amylyle.me. And my Twitter and what's the other one that everybody's on? Instagram is author Amy Lyle, and Twitter is just Amy Lyle. So I'd love for people to reach out with their funny failures.
So send her, ladies and gentlemen, hook up with Amy and give her some of your funny failures, and who knows, you might appear in one of her books or even in a movie. You don't ever know with Amy.
That's right.
That's the kind of girl she is.
I know, and if they read my book, I bet if they read my book, they're going to be like, oh, my gosh, just like you did. You're like, oh, my gosh, you're telling that funny story about a dog? I have a funny story about a dog, or I have a funny dating story.
There you go. You heard it first here, ladies and gentlemen. Tomorrow night we will be off. On Saturday night, author Mark Levine will be with us. As you all know, ladies and gentlemen, we're all on a journey. And while we're on that journey, let us be kind to others because they are also on a journey. And sometimes their journeys might not be very pleasant. So just smile, be kind. And if you want to achieve greatness, do like me and Amy. Do not ask permission. Just go out and achieve greatness. And do the same with your children because they are great. Let them be. Encourage them to be great. They don't have to ask permission either. So once again, Amy, thank you, my darling. Don't hang up when the show goes dark. Thank you for spending an hour with me. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for allowing us in your hearts and homes for an hour. We will see you again Saturday night at 9 o'clock Eastern Daylight Time here on Off the Chain. I am your host, Yvonne Mason, with author Amy Lyle. Check out her books. They will make you just fall down laughing. I promise you. Until Saturday night at 9 o'clock Eastern Time, we are going to wish you all a very good evening. Be safe out there because there are crazies out there, and who knows what they will do. They like to run over us all down here in South Florida. So until Saturday night, we wish you all a good night. Be safe, be happy, and love one another. Okay, we're off the air now, and my dog is playing with the puppy. I have a new Frenchie, and a Maltese is aggravating the Frenchie. The Maltese is 8 years old. The Frenchie's a baby, and I guess they've all had brain cramps. But everything we say will show up in the archive part of the show, but I did want to tell you that when this thing goes up in archives, when we get off, I'm going to put it on your page. I'm going to put it on my page and tag you in it. Take it and post it everywhere.
I will. I'll put it on all my social media. And thank you. It's so nice to get caught up.
I'm telling you, we'll have more to get caught up with when you come back on. And also tomorrow, I've got a bunch of shows I've got to put up in the other podcast. But when I put it up on Spreaker and SoundCloud, podcast.com and Podcast Garden, I will also tag you in those links as well for you to share with your social media.
Yeah, because people have a real preference, don't they? Like some people love
they do.
Podbean. Some people, they're real iHeartRadio. Some people are, if they don't see it in the one that they like, they won't listen to it.
Well, I have two on iHeartRadio. I have Southern Chats with Yvonne Mason, and I have Off the Chain. So between the two of them, we're up to almost 10,000 listeners.
Nice. That's nice. And I saw that you your website looks beautiful. It looks like you did some changes or upgraded or did something. It's very nice and easy to navigate around. It's really pretty.
Yeah, I've been working on that. I've been working on several. I have so many different websites. It's hysterical. I got to work on my I have to work on my book website too because it needs a facelift. I haven't done anything with it in several years. And, of course, with Jack being sick, I didn't do anything towards the end but look after him. But
you know what I did recently? A friend suggested. She suggested putting on my book website or just my general website a media page where if somebody wants to pull pictures, like you post pictures or your book covers or whatever on there and maybe some quotes or reviews or whatever and a synopsis, and it's like it's just there. It's right there. So if somebody, a media person, runs across your website, they have a lot of information to get started, or if they wanted to feature you or give you a shout out, they had some material right there. And I thought that was kind of clever. I didn't think of it. My neighbor thought of it. She works in PR.
That's a good idea.
I don't know if it's worked, but it doesn't cost anything to put it on there, so I put it on there.
Yeah, just add it. Sounds like a plan to me.
Just add it. Yeah,
well, will
so
you tell your family?
Will
you tell your family thank you very much for sparing you for an hour to spend with me, and that I appreciate it very, very much. I'm very humbled and appreciative. And now they're playing, the crazy dogs. And keep me updated on what's going on with the film.
I will.
So that we can get you back on and we can bring you on several times so that we can keep the folks updated and keep things going and and then when it gets ready to launch, we'll have a launch party. I'm trying to get my words out. I can't get my words out.
Yeah, I don't know how that works. I don't know if there's I don't know how that works because I'm not in the film business. But I will share with you everything I know. Hopefully we'll have, I'm envisioning like some kind of red carpet affair. That's what I'm envisioning, but I don't really know if that happens. I don't know if it's kind of like, hey, we sold it to Netflix.
That would be so cool.
I don't know.
That would be so cool.
Yeah, I think my home, my county that I live in, well, it's not little, it's fairly large, but I think my county that I live in would be very gracious and generous to let me do some kind of, opening night kind of thing. I think they would. They're very good to me here, so.
Of course they would, because that's revenue for them.
I think so.
And
I think it'd be fun.
And because Georgia is so film-oriented, oh, yeah, I see it happening. I might even have to make a trip to Georgia myself.
You should. You should be in there. All are welcome. I need a lot of extras.
There you go. See?
I cannot wait to share with you the big companies and who is going to be a cameo. It's a very, very, very famous person from Atlanta, but I can't. I'm not allowed to say yet because they haven't signed off. But I'm meeting with them February 6th, so I'm so excited. I mean, like big.
Oh well, when they sign off, we have to bring you back on. We have to do some name dropping.
Exactly. I've never I've never had a name to drop, so I'm going to be so. I don't know anyone, so this is the only name I can drop.
Well, there you go. We'll do some name dropping, and we'll revel in your success, and we'll promote the daylights out of it so that it'll win some awards.
Oh, I hope so. And I'm so lucky to be surrounded with people that do know how to do that. You know, I just have to worry about the writing, and they worry about everything else. That's our agreement, and I really trust them. I think that's important. You're working with people that you trust because I think there's a lot of shady stuff that goes on out there.
Yeah, there is. More than people realize. And things will happen, my darling friend. Things will happen.
Well, have a lovely evening, and it's always lovely to speak with you. And we'll keep in touch via Facebook, but have a lovely night. And I'm so glad I was to hear, you know, what you're doing with your grieving. It's so beautiful and positive and gracious. And I know you have good days and bad days, but boy, you are an inspiration for people that are going through a rough patch, because there's other things to do besides crying in the bathtub. There are some things that you can do besides that, and you are doing them.
That is
beautiful.
Very, very true. And I guess you know, they say if one person calls you a jackass, you can ignore it. If two call you a jackass, you might want to think about it. When that third person calls you a jackass, well, pretty much a jackass. Well, you're about the 10th person that has said that very same thing to me, and that is so humbling. And I'm so appreciative, because I did not realize what an impact the journey had on people. And
it's really
on more than one show, people have said, Yvonne, we followed your journey. We followed you with the death of Jack and his illness, and it's such an inspiration. And I'm thinking, he's still touching lives.
Yes, and it's not that every day is rosy and every day is wonderful. That's not what you said. It's not easy. It is heartbreaking. Your heart is broken, and you are dealing with your grief, and you are doing stuff every day to help you to move on with your life. And so it's beautiful. It's not an and or. It's not I'm going to be grief stricken or I'm going to move on. This is how you are dealing with your grief. And it's just, it's really an inspiration. So I'm so happy.
Well, and he would be really mad at me because he made me promise that I would continue living. If it had been left up to me, I never would leave my house. I would close down the show. I'd quit writing. I'd do all the things that he didn't want me to do. And so I promised him that I would continue in the Senate. I would continue writing. I would continue the show. I would start going to events again. And I would do those things that I couldn't do because he was my total focus, and I did it with love.
Yes.
And so now we're doing it. My heart's not with me, but I'm doing it because he asked me to.
Well, good. Well, you know, it takes time. It's not been very long. It's not been very long.
No, it's only been for a little over 3 months.
Right. And so, you know, grief sometimes just whacks you over the head, doesn't it? You're driving in your car and you hear a song and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm so sad. You know, just grief comes and goes, and that's fine. That's healthy. I think you're exactly where you're supposed to be with this. I mean, my goodness, it's only been, you know.
Well, thank you, darling. I appreciate that so much.
Well, you're welcome, and have a lovely, lovely evening.
You too. And I'm going to tell you, if it has been, my life has been made much more bearable because I have my friends like you that surround me.
Isn't that the truth? You can't pick your family, but you can pick your friends. I mean, not that I have anything wrong with my family. Like, I really have, I'm so, like you are, so blessed to have people that are lifter-uppers of women and of other people. So nice.
And it makes a big difference because if I'm having a bad day, I can, and I don't have to bemoan it for hours and do 3 pages worth of post. Just a short sentence or a short something, and people will say, "We're here. We're here. We're praying. We're thinking about you," and that's all it takes.
Yes. Yes.
So
you are not alone.
Thank you. Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
So let me know how things go. Let's stay in touch closely, because once this thing starts rolling, my darling, it's going to roll out fast.
I don't know. I hope so. But I sure am having a good time. I'm learning a lot, and it's fun.
Well, trust
I can't
me
wait.
on this one.
I mean, I read this film, Yvonne, and it's like I just laugh. I mean, yesterday I was on a conference call with Stephen, the editor, and advisor. I don't know what he is. But he's super nice. But anyway, and I was laughing like out loud, and I'm like, this is so funny. Like, I've read this movie 1,000 times, and I still think it's funny. Like, that's funny if you read something 1,000 times and you still think it's funny. You know what I mean? I'm like, I think this is going to be good, and he's like, I think it's going to be good too. So.
And once it starts, once all of the cogs in the wheels start turning, and all the mechanisms get into place, it's just going to start rolling downhill like a runaway snowball, and you're going to be going, oh my goodness, and just go with it.
I will remember everybody that helped me when nobody knew my name. That's for sure.
There you go.
You know?
I love you, my darling. Stay in touch
I love
so
you
we
too.
can do
Have
this
a good
thing.
night. Okay.
All right, sweetheart. Bye-bye.